The Lord Mayor. City of Adelaide Council meeting on Tuesday, 11 February 2025. The Lord Mayor is in the chair. This council meeting will be streamed live and recorded for publishing to the internet. Please note that an audio and visual recording is being taken of this meeting. This means that your presence at and any contribution you make to the meeting may be collected, used, disclosed or published publicly by the Council, including transferring outside Australia.
Good evening. Council acknowledges that we're meeting on the traditional country of the Kaurna people of the Adelaide Plains and pays respects to elders past and present. We recognise and respect their cultural heritage, beliefs and relationship with the land. We acknowledge that they are of continuing importance to the Kaurna people living today, and we also extend that respect to other Aboriginal language groups and other First Nations people who are with us. The Council acknowledges the vision of Colonel William Light in determining the site of Adelaide and the design of the city and its 6 squares and surrounding belt of continuous parklands, which is recognised on the National Heritage List as one of the greatest examples of Australia's planning heritage. We pray for wisdom, courage, empathy, understanding and guidance in the decisions that we make while seeking and respecting the opinions of others. May we in this meeting speak honestly, listen attentively, think clearly and decide wisely for the good governance of the City of Adelaide and the well-being of those we serve. Now I ask all those present to stand in silence in memory of those who gave their lives in defence of their country at sea, on land and in the air. Could I ask that someone move confirmation of the minutes from the 28th of the 1st of 25? Moved by Councillor Nunes, seconded by Councillor Martin. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried. Thank you, members. Does anyone wish to declare a conflict of interest for any items? Councillor Martin and Councillor Abrahimzadeh. Councillor Martin, that's 7.1 on the agenda as previously.
Yes, correct. As at committee, Lord Mayor, I have a general that I wish to declare in respect of recommendation 1, item 11, and then I have a material in item 12 in regard to the CLMP for the Central Market.
Thank you. Have we got that recorded? Thank you. Councillor Abrahimzadeh, is that the Light Square development? It
is a general conflict of interest, but I'll be remaining in the room debating and voting on the matter.
Thank you, Councillor. Item, deputations, we have none. Petitions, we have none.
Lord Mayor, I actually do have a petition that I would like to submit. I have a petition of 814 signatures.
Councillor, we can't accept it now. The closing date was last Wednesday. You would know that. We are happy to take it for next week.
Yes, is that right? So am I able to give this to the CEO now?
You may give it to whichever member of staff you like. Thank you. We'll move on to the next item. Item 11, which is the recommendations of the City and Community Services. Thank you. So, Councillor Giles, would you like to move these? I don't know that we have support for them moving on the block, but we may have. Will someone second them on block?
Lord Mayor, as mentioned a moment ago, I have a general conflict in respect of recommendation 1
Yep.
Because I am a member of the Central Market Authority Board. I am being extremely conservative in this matter because the attachments recommend an increase in spending for the bus to the market. I do not believe, however, given the nature of that service and that the item is in fact about a aged care support service, that I have a conflict of any substance that would require me to leave the room, so I will remain in the room and vote, and in a moment give the administration the appropriate form.
Thank you for that explanation. So with that caveat, Councillor Giles, do we have a seconder? Councillor Elliott, sorry.
So I'll move it on block.
On block, if you're happy to do that.
Yep.
And seconded by Councillor Elliott. Sorry, would you like to speak to it or just move it?
I won't speak. I won't speak at length, except to say that this motion puts us in a more strategic place in the services we provide for our older residents in the City of Adelaide, and will ensure that a support program continues. It just won't look the same, but we will be continuing to support people who are currently on the SIS program, but also a new program for people who are older in our community. And also the other two motions are as outlined, but also including a sensible motion in relation to the archery club, and some at the beginning of the process of getting going the support fund operating guidelines for the business accessibility grant.
Thank you, Councillor. Deputy Lord Mayor, did you wish to add anything?
Only very briefly, Lord Mayor. I wanted to make some comments about recommendation 7.2, the Business Accessibility Support Fund operating guidelines, and reaffirm my support for that I expressed at the committee meeting. But having spent some time with the Disability Access and Inclusion panel through this term, and having a number of people in my circle of friends who live with various forms of disability, I'm very pleased to see this initiative coming forward to Council, because access and inclusion is not just about wheelchair ramps, it's about all manner of things. And I'm really pleased to see that the framework that's been proposed for this includes things that aren't just physical. They incorporate social disabilities or cognitive disabilities or disabilities of perception relating to sound, hearing, vision. And I think this is a really interesting trial that we're putting forward, and I just want to congratulate the team for being so open and inclusive and putting this to Council.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. And look, I also commend this motion. I was unable to attend the committee meeting last week, and I think the work we put into it is quite wonderful. If we were to get unanimous support for this, that would be 11 votes, just like the minutes earlier, and I think 11 votes is a very powerful thing. So I commend it to the Chamber.
Thank you, Councillor Giles, would you like to sum up? All those in favour? All those against? That's unanimously supported. Thank you. We'll move on to item 12 now. Councillor Noon, I suspect we can't take these on block, but so can I ask if anybody wants to call out any of these?
Lord Mayor, can I just stand to advise that I declare a general conflict for item 7.5, as we have a family hospitality businesses within the City of Adelaide, but it affects a vast amount of ratepayers.
That's item 5?
Yes, 7.5.
Yes.
So therefore I'll stay in the room and vote for this item.
Thank you. If you could just fill out the form and we'll manage that. Thank you. Councillor Martin?
Yes, as mentioned a moment ago, Lord Mayor, in respect of recommendation for the CLMP for the Adelaide Central Market, I'm a member of the board of the Central Market Authority, and as this matter is before and has been before the board, I have a material conflict of interest, and I propose to vacate the room and to neither participate in the discussion nor to vote.
Thank you. So, do we have any other calls? Councillor Davis.
I'd like to move an amendment to 7.3.
At the moment, so you want to call out 7.3? So, Councillor Noon, I think we can do number 1, 2 and 5. Would you be happy to move those? Moved by Councillor Noon, seconded by Councillor Abrahimzadeh. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried. Thank you. We will move now to 7.3, which is just noting the draft Light Square.
Thank you. And I have an amendment to add to it. I have a point 3, which is, or rather than demand, I suppose, get rid of demand and immediate. Yep.
I think it's a little harsh to demand. We are the council
after all. We demand of ourselves, you know. I can be very demanding of myself.
Request.
We will request, perhaps?
Yes, thank you.
Request administration.
Yep.
To halt the Do you have a seconder?
Maybe.
Councillor Abrahimzadeh is seconding.
Right. Thank you, members. We went out to consultation in relation to the draft Light Square master plan, and on the face of it, it seemed to have quite strong support. However, there were significant flaws in that consultation, and over the last 3 days, since Sunday, I've had a huge number of people who have been incredibly against this proposal. Now, during the consultation, a lot of the negative things about this proposal were not explained to our ratepayers. It was not explained that 5 lanes of traffic would be removed. It was not explained that disability car parking would be removed in front of the brain injury clinic. It was not explained to the extent of the car parking that would be removed on each side of the square and how traffic would circulate there. And very importantly, it wasn't explained to anybody how much this project would cost. So in the last 3 days, there has been a petition circulating, with the head petitioner being the owner of Lime Square Cafe, and they've provided me with a submission with a very large petition, and there was also an online petition, and you can see it on the CEO's desk here. There was 814 signatures to that petition, and so in light of, and there was significant discussion online as well, so members, in light of that huge outcry from our ratepayers in just 3 days, while this consultation ran for well over a month, I think it is time now to halt the progress of Light Square and consider other options and perhaps the views of the community. The petition that is currently on the CEO's desk, my understanding, will be presented to Council in 2 weeks' time with a report for you to consider it. I have counted the signatures that are there, and my count is 814, many of whom are local ratepayers, business owners, and people who visit the city. So, members, I commend this motion to you to prevent the further expenditure of $250,000 without giving an opportunity for members of our community to have a voice and be truly consulted on this master plan.
Can I ask for clarification? Were you going to pause until the petition had been received?
My intention is to halt, and then if the council chooses to take a different direction, whether it's to go back out to consultation, redraft it, the council can make the decision at that point. But for the time being, to halt the progress.
Lord Mayor, I'll be more comfortable seconding this if there is some sort of action that comes out of this. So I might ask the mover at some stage, be it now or during the debate, to maybe make reference to a workshop or some sort of a session that essentially allows the elected body to get more information or allows administration to maybe address some of the concerns that may have been highlighted in the petition that's been tabled. I'm in your hands. Am I able to suggest a variation or?
I think you're seeking a pause for further information sessions, and which would be an amendment, but since you're the seconder of the original motion, it's very difficult for you to amend it.
I'm happy to incorporate to halt the progress of Light Square and defer it to a workshop to add those terms so that it's clear.
I think your seconder was talking about pausing, was he, rather than halting?
Pausing, halting,
I'm just trying to give the chamber what they seek. So your seconder is going to ask you to incorporate a change. We're not going to defer the further consideration of the item to a workshop of elected members. Of elected members? Was that your intention?
Yes, yes, it was.
Can we
Lord
have of
Mayor.
elected members? I'm sorry, we'll just get this correct on the screen before we go on. Though in passing, since there's a lull in proceedings, I would say that there's no question of removing disability parking because those decisions haven't been made, and clearly there will be a slip road outside the residence. Is this a question? Because I think Councillor Abrahimzadeh is still speaking, Councillor
It was a question, Lord Mayor, but I'm happy to hold until Councillor Abrahimzadeh is finished.
Now happy?
Sorry, it's not subject to a workshop. It's and defers the matter for to a workshop of the administration.
It was defer. We've
Request the admission halt progress.
They want to halt and, well,
and refer
okay,
the
we will
matter
have to
to a
pause
workshop.
and defer to a workshop if we're going to defer it to a workshop.
Simply just go and refer
This is
the
a
matter
matter
to a
of plain
workshop.
English, Councillor. I think the CEO is right. We will have to have request administration pause the progress and defer the matter to a workshop. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to help you from the chair. Councillor Abrahimzadeh, pause. And defer the matter to a workshop. Yes.
Workshop, yeah.
To a committee workshop.
Yep.
To a committee workshop. Okay, I think we have your intent.
Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Can I speak? Ask the seconder to speak.
Lord Mayor, I've been a I've been a supporter of what has been proposed to the committee and the council. What I am mindful of is that there are some preliminary concerns that have been raised here in this instance. I'm mindful that master planning exercise is a process, and so you cannot necessarily have an amount, final design, and all the implications that a master plan is going to have without going through that design process. So I'm mindful that it is a process, and we are yet to figure out where some of the, some of the issues are in order to resolve them. But what I think is fair in this instance is that there are concerns that have been raised with Councillor Davis and possibly other councillors, and I think it would be good practice for us to momentarily pause this, have a workshop, make sure that administration are aware of some of the concerns, so that as the master planning process progresses, we're able to address some of those concerns. You don't necessarily want to go down a path of a particular plan when you know that there is X, Y, and Z that is wrong with that approach. So you might as well try and nip it in the bud now, rather than wait until you get to your final destination before you find out there's all these issues and you have to go through the master planning process and in order to try and resolve them. I don't necessarily see this as stopping the project. I think it is a slight pause. Let us work through some of the issues that's been raised with us and hopefully continue the projects forward.
So the only issue I have now, thank you for clarifying the motion, is I think this central clause is deeply insulting. I don't think we should claim that the administration have conducted an inadequate consultation. I think they have done it properly and extensively. I don't think there's been a lack of alternative traffic solutions because we haven't done the traffic study yet, so that hasn't been determined. And I don't think you can have a lack of financial transparency when we haven't got a planned cost. So I think all of those matters are both offensive to the administration and inaccurate. So I would wonder if that might be deleted by someone. Councillor Siebentritt.
Sorry, Lord Mayor, I was just going to come back to my question when you were
Oh,
finished.
sorry. I don't think it's appropriate to suggest the staff have behaved in such a really improper way.
Lord Mayor, if the mover is happy, I'm happy to make a variation to this and proceed with your suggestion.
This is the views of 814 people who've signed a petition. So this is how they're feeling. And I'm not blaming the administration, but it seems quite clear that a number of key businesses were not consulted at all. And this is how they felt. So 814 people have put that and signed a petition to that effect, and I'm giving effect to that petition with this motion. So,
thank you, Councillor. I've given my views. I think it's offensive, and I will take an amendment from someone else. Moved by Councillor Martin and seconded by Councillor Noon. Is that a deletion of that clause, Councillor? Deleted? Deleted. Would you like to speak to it?
Oh, yes. Simply to thank Councillor Abraham today for his sensible approach to this matter. I think it is clear that there are some concerns about the project. It does warrant the opportunity for elected members to hear further about the administration's plans, and if there are particular concerns from some stakeholders, that might be the opportunity for us to hear further. But if I could just ask a couple of questions, I'm a bit confused about the process. Is it proposed that this then comes back to Council next meeting? I thought I heard that there's going to be a petition and then some other motion. Is everything, including further discussion of this, on hold till the workshop?
My understanding of the motion, I've tried to assist from the chair, was that Councillor Abrahimzadeh and Councillor Davis were concerned about the explanations they had received and thought it proper that there would be a better explanation for those members who hadn't managed to wade through all the documentation and the briefing material and help them to come to a more informed decision. We would then still have to do the actual work, which is of the traffic study and that consultation, because that will inform the final design and how the slip road works to the west and how the parking will be designed. That's my interpretation of the chair.
No, that's fine. Thank you. Then, look, I commend this to members. I think this is a reasonable outcome. Let's have a workshop, hear all of the concerns of individual members of council, raise the questions with the administration, and we'll take it from there.
I know that Councillor Siebentritt wanted to ask a question, but Councillor Noon seconded the amendment. I'll just take Councillor Noon first.
Actually, I agree with taking that out, but I don't actually agree with the amendment. Because, and I'll tell you why, this is absurd. At the end of the day, I live around there. I've actually received the same phone calls and emails. I've been able to sort them out. At the end of the day, these people have been misled by what's been fed to the media. What went to the committee last week was phase 2 consultation on the draft. That was all. To get the community for us to hear the community feedback. And we heard that option 1 was the preference. At the end of the day, I made it very clear at that committee that I was chairing that all of this could change subject to a traffic analysis study of the whole area, and if that outcome was going to align with the preferred option. I think that study or that analysis has already commenced. Why would we not wait until we get that before we actually move any further on this? I've actually got a lot of meetings this week with people around the area, and at the end of the day, I will be telling them this. This is ridiculous. I know what the whole area is like. I've lived there for many, many years, and at the end of the day, that's the issue. The whole traffic management analysis needs to be done on this in alignment with these options and in alignment with option 1. And then that's going to determine what is doable. So this, to me, is just ridiculous.
Thank you, Councillor. So, Councillor Siebentritt, whom I've been avoiding with his question for some time, I apologise.
I assure you it's not too harsh, Lord Mayor, but I am confused, I'll admit. I am confused the more and more we get into this discussion because I thought that we had a process. We're very clear on the process. We go to master plan, then we go to more detailed planning in the future. But we also have already committed to a traffic impact assessment. And my understanding is that would, and this is my question for the administration, is does that traffic impact assessment not come back through a workshop at the committee, or does it come back directly to this chamber?
I understand it will go to a workshop, is that right? I need assistance.
Through the presiding member, there's two pathways based on the original recommendation, and there's a third pathway. So there is a funded project in the 24-25 business plan and budget to progress the concept design, the consultation, traffic impact assessments and safety audits to test the feasibility of the master plan. So that's within your 24-25 business plan and budget. The amendment puts that process on hold until we workshop the concerns articulated in the petition.
So further to that, through you, presiding member, that would mean that if we went for part 3, we would actually put on hold the traffic study, which is the very thing we need to inform the workshop. Is that correct?
I believe that's true. So let me just carry on around the call list. I've got Councillor Davis, Snape, Elliott, Giles and Kouros. And we're discussing the deletion of the clause in the middle. Councillor Davis.
I strongly object to the deletion of the clause in the middle. I object to the deletion of the clause in the middle. There was a petition of 814 signatures who expressed their serious concerns around it. It's not a dig at the administration. It is simply acknowledgement in this motion that those concerns exist and that they signed a petition to that effect. Now, at the end of the day, whether someone has a concern or not is a matter for them, and it's not necessarily criticism on the council administration. Now, I've had the opportunity to speak with the traders, particularly on the east side of the square, and they didn't have any idea. I spoke with the CEO of the Brain Injury Clinic SA. She had no idea. The law firm had no idea. The local church had no idea. The local cafe had no idea. The property management group on the corner had no idea. So these serious concerns that are there, they're quite serious, because if you have a multi-level business and you require access to that car parking that's in front of your business, if you require access to a disabled car park, and if you have really concerns about the congestion in that square, they have very serious concerns and they weren't consulted. This is simply a recognition of the way that our community feels about this specific issue. And this is our community telling us to stop. Now, it does not take a traffic study for people to understand that removing 5 lanes of traffic is going to cause serious congestion. So if we can return this to a workshop to understand exactly what is there, what figures we already do have, because I remember we spent some $140,000 doing a citywide traffic study. Surely we have some data regarding Light Square when we were considering the 30-kilometre-hour speed zone. Surely that data is already available to us.
Point of order, Lord Mayor. Look, that's an absolute fallacy that's perpetuated every time Councillor Davis makes mention of this. We never considered a 30-kilometre-an-hour proposal for the city. It was never before the council. It is a fallacy. He should apologise. It is a breach of the code.
I think that the issue here is that the study about the consultation about speed limits was related to the data on injuries at certain speeds. It wasn't a traffic study. So you're incorrect, Councillor Davis. So Councillor Martin is correct. It was not a traffic study of the sort you are implying.
I'm not implying that it was of the traffic study that was of a nature described by Councillor Siebentritt, but I've seen the data where it shows how many cars were travelling on a particular area at a certain limit and a certain speed. So we do know how many cars were travelling on certain roads, and I suspect we do have a lot of data.
That wasn't the study that was related to the issue you're talking about.
I'm calling for that data.
It was in the documents that you obviously read on Light Square.
I'm calling for that data, whatever data we have, to be presented before we undertake a further study which will cost our ratepayers. Now, we are in budget.
I agree that Councillor Martin has
Okay.
I know that you don't believe in ever apologising,
Okay.
but my ruling is that you have not been accurate in your statement.
Okay. Thank you. I'm not sure if that's a point of order. Which section of the Local Government Act does that relate to?
Come on, councillor.
Aha, yes. If we get into the sections, all of a sudden, it's come on, councillor. Look, I believe that we do have significant data, and I believe we can have an informed decision about this before we go and spend ratepayers' money. Now, we were talking about our budgetary requirements, and we're talking about budget repair and how we need to cut costs. Now, this proposal for option 1, we have a budget of $250,000, $250,000, and our ratepayers are telling us to stop. I think we should stop. I think we should listen to the 814 signatures in 3 days calling on the city to stop. And I believe that we should recognise their concerns by not deleting the statement which is in the original motion.
Thank you, councillor. We'll move on now to councillor Snape.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. And speaking specifically on the deletion of the central part of the motion.
Yes, that's the second amendment.
Yes, the Second Amendment. I do support removing it because, although I respect what Councillor Davis is saying, that's not the implication of the wording. If he worded it so it was due to feedback around concerns, blah, 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 but he's presented it as a statement of fact, and therefore I don't think it's correct. And I know that there are various training available for writing motions, which I encourage a councillor to attend.
Thank you, councillor. Councillor Elliott.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. As a cyclist, it wouldn't surprise you to know that I'm very familiar with the sound of backpedalling. But I won't be supporting part 3 of this motion, not least because it's a direct negative of itself. You can't pause a process and then also continue that same process to fix the issues. What we're being asked to do is consider nothing more than the same consultation feedback which we are now noting. The only material that would go to that workshop is this report, which we've now received twice. So it would be a complete waste of time, in keeping with the movers' intent of saving ratepayer money, to revisit the same issue a third time with no new insight, aside from some whipped up dog whistling around things that are not even in the master plan. All these ideas about removals of lanes, reduction of flows of traffic and removal of parking are not in there because it's not a detailed design. That is someone filling in the gaps with what they want people to understand and framing an issue based on their own misreading of a master plan and their own misreading of a master plan process.
Point of order. You've often ruled that casting aspersions on other members, their intentions, and talking negatively about the performance is something that you will not accept in this chamber. And so I ask you to remove Councillor Elliott under Regulation 29 from the chamber.
I don't think Councillor Elliott's comments have been egregious in any way. I'll rule against that suggestion. Councillor Elliott.
Thank you. I'm quite capable of managing my own behaviour, so I appreciate the feedback. Thank you. Thank you, Lord Mayor. Funnily enough, I was pretty close to finishing anyway. I've already made my point. This is a direct negative of itself. It serves no purpose, and it's a complete waste of everyone's time. So I would seek to take the motion in parts, if it is the will of the chamber that we progress to actually considering part 3.
Thank you. So we'll move on to Councillor Giles and then Councillor Kouros, and then I think we might get to the vote on this amendment.
I'd like to support the views of Councillor Noon and Councillor Elliott in saying that really number 3, putting up, I'll be voting, if I'm able to in the structure of the meeting, voting against 3 completely, because I really don't think it's the proper process to go through to be able to actually say that we need to now come back and listen to concerns when what the motion was saying was to note the consultation process. That was what the original motion was about. It was noting the consultation process and the outcome of the consultation process and continuing the more information and more modelling so that we can continue this process. That's really what it said. And it's with great concern that I note that there are a number of issues recently where it's been a low-key issue that we have either noted a report and councillors have gone out to the media and spread information that we've made a decision when we haven't made a decision. And it's actually part of the process of us engaging with the community by listening and then considering the next step. In terms of the consultation, I was involved in some of this consultation and I saw it occurring. One of the most important bits of our consultation for this square was a really thorough process of involving our reconciliation committee, because this part of the city is a very important cultural place for the Kaurna people, and they wanted to have a say about what that part looked like. The other part was people who are vulnerable in that area, who are finding it incredibly difficult to move from their houses into a green space, the only green space they have access to in that city. And we already have probably thousands of people living in that area, and we'll be getting more. So it's an important thing to actually have a consultation, to do it properly. And I'm looking at the report here, and it talks about submissions, written submissions, workshops, community information sessions, pop-up community sessions, 4,000 postcards, and a whole pile of letters, nearly 2,000 letters sent to people in the area. We've done a consultation process. Our policy says that we should listen to that consultation process and take it on board. We can't keep changing our mind once the community's done a consultation process, because that undermines the whole process and principles of consultation in itself. So if we don't like what people say, we can't turn around and then say, well, we didn't like that consultation because we didn't like the answer. So and we've got legislative requirements under the Act to consult, and we have met our legislative requirements under the Act and our policy under the Council, and we are noting those consultations. And the original motion talks about, now let's move to the next step. We need all the information before we make decisions. So I'm urging councillors to reject the whole of number 3.
Thank you. We have Councillor Kouros, then Councillor Martin and Councillor Siebentrit again.
Hasn't Councillor Martin spoken?
I'm sorry?
Oh, you're summing up.
Councillor Martin moved the amendment. I'm sorry, I haven't given him the chance to speak yet. I ought to let him do that first. Councillor Martin? Are you happy to let Councillor Kouros?
Look, I'm happy to speak if that is your call. Lord Mayor, I note Councillor Giles' remark that we can't keep changing our mind. And in respect of my own mind, I'm always open to listen to debate. It's so important to hear what my colleagues have to say, and it can be quite influential. And listening to Councillor Noon and Councillor Elliott and Councillor Giles and Councillor Snape, I'm persuaded that the original agreement to delete that material was inappropriate. I think that it should stand, and if your worship would agree, Lord Mayor, if this matter can be taken in parts, then I can vote as I please on 3, rather than seeking to accommodate a further discussion.
So just to clarify, it was my intention to take a vote on the deleted portion, which was the only amendment before the
I'm withdrawing my amendment.
I think that what you should do is vote against it, if you would, because withdrawing it now is quite difficult. I'm not sure that it's technically possible.
I've just been so persuaded by
No. I think that if we, it is quite acceptable to vote against your own motion, because often people second things for the purposes of debate, which is very hard.
Well, look, I'm happy to do that.
You've
and
done
I welcome that
Thank
opportunity.
you.
Thank you.
So we will take the deletion as the first part, and then we will have that as the part 3, and then I will take it in 3 parts. So you will get a chance to vote for the bits you support. I go back to Councillor Kouros, who's been waiting extremely patiently.
I've got a question and then I'd like to speak. Can administration please advise me, because we have so much coming through this chamber, how did we get here? How did we get to master planning at Light Square? Was it a motion or was it a recommendation?
Through the presiding member, it was an approved project as part of the 24-25 business plan and budget.
But for clarification, it came from the business property owners who made a request to the local members who said they wanted investment in Light Square to make it more usable for major events. They said it wasn't good to be a traffic island. They wanted support to invest.
Thank you, Lord Mayor.
And
I
we
understand
funded
all that, but I'm trying to work out, did it come through as a motion or did it come through as a recommendation from administration through the budget process?
I think it was a motion by the local members.
So who brought the motion through?
I think it was Councillor Noon.
Right, okay, thank you.
So it was following the submissions. It was presentations by the local property owners, and they requested there be investment.
I know, I'm very confused. So if I could have that information, because that would be great to have a history to how we got here, that would be great.
CEO, will it help you?
Thank you.
Through the presiding member, paragraph 1 of the report to the committee advises that Council approves the development of a master plan for Light Square as part of the 23-24 annual business plan and budget. Quite clearly, the fact that we're discussing it this evening means that some elements of the approved project were a carry forward into 24-25.
So would you like to speak to it now, Councillor?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. As the person in this chamber who is probably the only one that runs a family business within the City of Adelaide, I can understand the despair that the businesses around the square must have. As the only probably councillor here that probably hasn't worked through bureaucracy, I do listen to the people and to the public, and we should be listening to them completely. And we always
Councillor,
talk about
try not to
process.
impugn
No, we're talking about.
Councillor,
I'm talking.
Sorry, I have a point of order. A point of order, Lord Mayor.
I'm talking about myself, Lord Mayor. I'm talking about myself.
Sorry,
I don't work in bureaucracy.
Lord Mayor, I have a point of order. I have a point of order.
I didn't say it was. I'm just saying where I come from, Lord Mayor. I never said anything that it was an insult at all. Well, I'm sorry, Lord Mayor, but we're here to do a job. We're here to do a job as an elected member, and we act for the public. That's what we do.
I have a point of order.
And remember people's sensitivities. Just a moment, we have a point of order from Councillor Davis.
Yes, I note that Councillor Noon's constant interjection into the discussion by Councillor Couros, and I understand that I've been ejected for apparently interjecting, and I ask that you remove Councillor Noon from the chamber under Regulation 29 for being disruptive.
Thank you. I see no reason to agree to that assessment. I don't see that she has done anything that's been disruptive or insulting. Councillor Couros, please go on.
So, administration have followed a direction in regards to master planning of Light Square. The motion that is crossed out here is not an insult to administration. They did their job. They produced what they were required to produce, a master plan that is bold. And that's what they have done, and it was bold. But what this, in reflection, has done, and what feedback I have been getting as well, is that there's causing grave concerns to our community. Pausing is the right thing to do, but adding the due to serious concerns regarding financial transparency, traffic disruptions, economic harm to local businesses, inadequate consultation, the lack of alternative tracking solution is what the community is asking for. To push this along to another workshop, it just means that we're going to have the report in front of us. But if that item that was crossed out was left in there, that would allow administration to come up with a conversation in that workshop in regarding those matters that they're concerned about. So what we basically has done, by crossing that out, we're kicking it down the road. What we're going to do, if you agree to this, which I don't think it's going to get up, it means that it's going to be transferred to a workshop, which may give us the ability to speak to what the concerns the public are having at the moment. Now, I've got many concerns. First of all, $250,000 in our budget, that could be going somewhere else. Concern number one. Concern number two, what is the cost at the end of it? Our businesses are crying. 80% of our rates come from businesses, and we're talking about extending greening space, we're talking about ripping up the road, we're talking about so many things which may have merit, Lord Mayor. I'm not saying that it doesn't have merit, but we're not listening to what is happening out there right now. We are disconnected as a council. We are so wrapped up with the process. We are not listening to our community. There are 814 signatures there, which I really look forward to seeing that petition when it is tabled next week. And I look forward to reading through the comments because I am concerned for this city. I am truly concerned, and we're talking about spending $250,000 for a plan.
Matter. Councillor Davis, seconded by Councillor Abrahimzadeh. All those in favour? I think that's carried, is it? What were the numbers on there? Can we do it again? I think that is lost, actually. You didn't vote, Councillor Couros. I think you could have voted for yourself.
I'd just like to raise a point of order.
No, I think Councillor Couros could vote for herself, in which case it would pass.
Oh, thank you, Lord Mayor.
All those in favour? All those against? That's carried. Thank you.
Thank you, Lord Mayor, for letting me add that my concerns in regards to this is that we're not listening directly to what the public's concerns are, which are what is crossed out from this motion. We as a council are not thinking about the implications of what this will do to our budget. We as a council are not thinking about if we're going to be able to deliver this project, because the way I'm looking at it, at this point in time, it's looking like another vanity project.
Thank you. I think we've reached the end of the debate.
I do have a point of order, Lord Mayor.
Another point of order.
Yeah, it's in relation to the conduct of Councillor Noon, who said the word excellent, muttering under her breath when the motion allegedly failed for Councillor Couros.
I think that Councillor
it fails to show respect to each other.
And despite my inability to hear the mumblings around the room, I can actually hear most of what she says, and I didn't hear that. So we'll move on. Councillor Siebentritt, have you finished? You've asked many questions. I think we ought to put the amendment, so I'll just repeat, we will put the amendment deleted portion in part 3 first, and then after that decision we will take the rest in parts, because then that will become the third part motion. All those in favour of deleting the clauses as marked? All those in favour of deletion? Deleting the highlighted area. So all those in favour of that deletion? Division's called.
Members, a division has been called in relation to the amendment to the deletion in part 3, which is currently highlighted. Please stand in favour of the deletion until your name has been called. Councillor Ho, Councillor Lee and Councillor Abrahimzadeh. Thank you.
Thank you. That now becomes the motion of part 3. I will just ask Councillor Noon if she wants to sum up for the... Sorry? Can we just ask... Oh, I'm sorry, you can speak, Councillor Snape.
Thank you. I very diligently only stuck to the amendment last time around. And I will keep very, very brief just to say that I actually completely agree with Councillor Noon, Councillor Elliott, Councillor Giles, Councillor Martin, I think Councillor Siebentritt as well. I just think to delay the traffic management analysis is a big mistake, and I understand the direction that Councillor Davis is coming from, but if he truly cares, and I believe he does, if he truly cares about the concerns...
a point of order, Lord Mayor.
I
have a point of order, Lord Mayor. You've previously ruled that any indication of what another member thinks, feels, considers is out of order, and I'd ask that you reprimand Councillor Snape and remove him from the chamber under Regulation 29.
My understanding was that he was saying who he agreed with, and I don't find that a particularly egregious insult. No,
the point of order was a reflection on my thought process, my comments and my behaviour in his, and I'd ask you to direct him to cease to do that. If you recall, you actually ejected me from the chamber for apparently doing that.
I'm afraid I didn't hear him say anything derogatory about you. I'm sorry I missed it.
Is any reflection?
Or I didn't hear any of that sort, so I reject that application. Councillor Ho? Do you have a point of order? No. Yes, can we just finish, Councillor Snape? Councillor Snape.
I will say it. Okay, sorry. So yes, I agree with my fellow councillors who have spoken against this point 3, and my concern is around delaying the traffic management analysis. And to those councillors, I'm not say anything negative any negative aspersions, who are coming to us expressing concerns of citizens, I believe they'll be best served, and we're best serving those citizens who are expressing those concerns by having the completion of a traffic management analysis. Was that legal enough to get me through that one? Okay, so that's my point. I think so. Rather than shoot ourselves in the foot, let's go ahead. Let's get the traffic management analysis. Let's see where the problems are. Let's see where the tweaks need to be. This initial motion before Part 3 was quite simply noting the Phase 2 of the consultation. That is all. So I'll leave it at that. Let's get on with it. Let's get some proper data in front of us before we then go to workshops and then start the next stage of this journey.
I think absolutely everything that can be said has been said, but Councillor Ho has been so quiet. So can I just ask if he would give us a question?
Good Lord, Mayor. Indeed, I have heard some really emotional debate, and because it's not my area, right? I haven't got a chance to speak to any of the residents or the ratepayers around Light Square over the last 2 or 3 months. And I just got a question first, though. Like, if somehow this motion carry, how? If somehow this motion carry, how long will actually delay, or how long will actually how much time it will cost?
I think the difficulty is scheduling it because we have a packed agenda. But if you think that Pitt Street took 7 years and 4 consultations, I think we're on track for this for about 2036.
Yeah. And a lot of money being spent doing so.
Look, I don't know, because I haven't seen the petition myself, and I seriously don't know what kind of comments were made by the ratepayers. And if this process doesn't pose for too long, I think it might be worse for us to, reissue those comments and address those concerns. It's just my recommendation. Like I said, I'm not an expert in this area, and I haven't had a chance to speak to any of the ratepayers around the area for a couple of months' time. But if there is a petition with such a significant amount of numbers, it might be worth to take a look. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Ho. So could I ask Councillor Davis to sum up, and then we'll take the vote in parts.
Thank you. Look, tonight I stand here as a voice for thousands of residents, workers, visitors and business owners who have been left unheard, blindsided and left deeply concerned by this proposed transformation of Light Square. This plan will stifle Adelaide, and people well know it. The way in which the consultation was carried out aimed to sell the vision or sell option 1 to people rather than truly tell them how it would impact them. Now, I've spoken with local businesses on the east-hand side and they were never consulted. Not the community centre, not the community church, not the offices, not the cafe, not the law firm, not the brain injury clinic of South Australia, and they were all completely perplexed that the consultation had come back and they had not been given any opportunity to comment.
Point of order. There was actually some inaccuracies in those statements. Many of the groups that have Councillor Davis has listed are in fact in the list of engaged parties, and I ask him to withdraw his inaccurate statements.
I'm happy to withdraw that, and I'll say they have told me that they were not engaged, and when I have spoken to them,
so thank you for withdrawing that, because I think one of the challenges with consultation is that you can knock on a building and find someone who works in the back room who wasn't consulted when sometimes someone else was. So you can't always draw conclusions. So I'm really grateful you've withdrawn that statement, so we'll accept that withdrawal. Thank you.
Great. The consultation did not tell the full story, and it did not tell everyone the full cost. The plan to remove 5 lanes of traffic and the removal of car parks, and worst of all, it comes at a time when our city's finances...
Again, I refer to some previous comments that I've made that the assertions of my colleague aren't actually included in the master plan and therefore have not gone to consultation and are quite inaccurate. For him to withdraw his comments.
Oh no, I'm happy to agree with him, because what I said was the consultation did not tell the full story. So Councillor Elliott and I are in full agreement that the full story was not told.
Different comment. I think we're talking about the veracity of the comments, and I'm not confident enough that I know the answer to that, so maybe someone from the administration could tell me. Were they told?
We're in full agreement. The full story was not told.
No, I think the administration don't believe they should enter this debate because it's becoming difficult.
Lord Mayor, I'm happy to qualify my comments. The two options went to public consultation, one of which included the retention of the northbound traffic on the western side of the square, and therefore the assertion that any plan or decision of council to remove 5 lanes of traffic in quotations is completely inaccurate, and therefore I ask for Councillor Davis to withdraw his inaccurate statements.
Oh, we're completely agreed that the community weren't properly informed of what the outcome would be, because we don't know, and we didn't tell them, and worst of all, this comes at a time when our city's finances are stretched to the limit. Now, this plan has been out for consultation for over a month, and it's received 160 people in favour of it. Now, in just 2 days, I've been presented with a petition of 814 signatures calling on the council to halt and reject this project. Now, $250,000 will be spent.
There was an assertion before that the petition was sponsored by a business owner in the city. However, the petition was actually hosted on Councillor Davis's own website. So I don't understand how he can receive a petition if he was the one sponsoring it himself.
I raise a point of what I mean. Councillor Elliott's clearly just trying to disrupt me. Jotform is not. I don't own Jotform. If I did, I probably wouldn't be here. Second of all, I promoted the petition, and the head petitioner is Lime Cafe, and their names are Peter and Antoinette.
Standing orders which require a ruling on the point of order before resumption of debate.
Well, I mean, I asked that you be ejected under Regulation 29.
Councillor, can you just sit down? So could you just repeat your point of order, because I misheard it?
There have been further inaccuracies regarding the hosting or the sponsoring of the petition, where it was hosted and sponsored by Councillor Davis himself on his own website.
I don't have a website.
That he was withdrawn.
Point of order, Lord Mayor. Please.
No, I don't have a website. It's not my petition. The head petitioner is Lime Cafe.
Very much.
I asked you to eject the Deputy Lord Mayor from the chamber for continually injecting, which is clearly, in my view, a vexatious attempt to interrupt my speech. And I ask that my time be started again. As am I.
Lord Mayor, if it appeases the chamber, I'm willing to offer my apologies sincerely on any inaccuracies in my comments. But as I said, I'm more than happy to manage my behaviour, and I have that expectation of my colleague.
Yes.
Thank you, and I think that the councillor has apologised and withdrawn once this evening, which was very well received. Thank you.
Thank you. Is it the intention? Can I just, as a point of clarification, I hope my time's been stopped. Is your intention to, because this would be very interesting for me, every single time someone says something inaccurate, am I allowed to raise a point of order and then say that something they said was maybe is that something that's a behaviour that we're now going to entertain for the remainder of the term? Or should it be best maybe save questions until the end? Because I'm happy with that rule.
I think that if you wish to carry on speaking, you should finish your 3 minutes.
I just wonder if that's going to be...
I think that this is an arbitrary question that you're plucking from the air. You know the meeting procedures extremely well, so please carry on speaking.
Okay. $250,000 will be spent on planning and consultation, yet we cannot say how much this project will cost. We don't know if it'll be $1 million, 10 million, 100 million. We have no idea. Now, from my own experience, I know that these figures, as a ballpark estimate, are not difficult to obtain. So how can we consult when we haven't even given our ratepayers an understanding of the general cost of this project? Now, Light Square is a large roundabout and a major intersection in our city, and tens of thousands of people use it every single day. And there are some pretty important elements to this master plan that they need to be aware of before they could possibly give us any meaningful consultation around the car parking, any reduction in the lanes, and also accessibility for disabled car parking. But these were not outlined to the public or their impact. Now, my view is that this plan will throw this area of the city into chaos. Now, we've been told about overwhelming support. A total of 220 people responded to the consultation. Now, with gobsmacking support near 80%. Now, meanwhile, in just 2 days, I have been presented with a petition of 814 people who have called to a halt to the project. This is not about opposing green spaces or progress. We all want greener, more livable city, but progress needs to be thoughtful, measured and responsible. We need green spaces and a place and a city where traffic moves. We need an innovation and inclusive city, and we cannot do that by excluding people from coming into the city. Now, something here is wrong, and many residents have expressed that. 10 seconds. Now, this feels extremely rushed, and I don't feel the community has been given the adequate opportunity to consult. So let's get it right. Yeah, one sentence. Let's get it right, not for ourselves, but for every resident, business, commuter and visitor who depends on us to lead with integrity, intelligence and responsibility. Thank you.
So I think we've aerated this enough. We've shone a light on every facet and every angle. I think we should take it in parts. So I ask to move first, number 1, noting the outcome of phase 2. All those in favour? Against? That's carried. Thank you, members. Number 2, the high-level stakeholder support. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried. Thank you. Number 3, which is a division has been called.
Members, a division has been called on part 2 of the recommendation in front of you. Please stand in favour of the recommendation until your name has been called. Councillor Noon, Deputy Lord Mayor, Councillor Elliott, Councillor Ho, Councillor Giles, Councillor Lee, Councillor Stephen Tripp, Councillor Snape, Councillor Martin and Councillor Abraham Zadeh. Thank you.
Thank you. That was carried. We'll now move on to part 3, which is the varied original motion. All those in favour? Against? That's lost. Thank you, members. A division has been called.
Members, a division has been called in relation to part 3. Please stand in favour of the motion until your name has been called. Councillor Ho, Councillor Kouros, Councillor Davis and Councillor Abraham Zadeh. Thank you. That's all.
So can I now ask that we move to item 4 and ask Councillor Martin to leave the room? Thank you. It's the Community Land Management Plan. And could I ask Councillor Noon, moved by Councillor Noon, seconded by Councillor Snape. Oh, he's sorry, I better wait. Sorry, he's getting too excited. Yeah. I apologise. Moved by Councillor Noon, yes. Seconded by Councillor Snape. Any debate? If not, all those in favour? All those against? That's carried. Could we retrieve the councillor? Now, we'll move on to item 13.1, which is the Gillies Arcade road closure. Moved by Councillor Noon, seconded by Councillor Kouros. Is there any debate on that? Do you wish to speak, Councillor Noon?
I just want to say that the Queen's Theatre is the oldest surviving theatre in mainland Australia. It holds significant historical and cultural value, and I might add that Barry Humphries played a key role in its preservation. This is any shows or what activities that this theatre does should be embraced by us, and we should support it.
Thank you. Councillor Elliott?
I'm happy to wait.
I'm sorry, Councillor Kouros, would you like to continue speaking? Yes, I just didn't see you make a move. I'm sorry.
Sorry, I second the motion, so I thought.
I'm sorry. Please go on.
Thank you. I just want to say that it's great to see that we're extending the fringe into other parts of the city. It is something that is much needed within the City of Adelaide and North Adelaide, and I look forward to the possibility of extending it more throughout the city. And I would request administration maybe to look at other ways in which we can do these great events within the City of Adelaide and North Adelaide, and accommodating and supporting the businesses that are completely suffering at the moment, especially the small businesses that rely on activation within our city in order to stay afloat. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Was there any other comment? Councillor Elliott.
Only very briefly, Lord Mayor. I, at one point, did live in a building adjacent the Queen's Theatre, so I had the good fortune of being their neighbours, and I can say with all certainty that they are very good neighbours, and they do look after their neighbours. There was one issue I'd like to just highlight for awareness of the administration in working with the team at the Queen's Theatre with the road closure, that in the past similar road closures have occurred, and while they have allowed pedestrian access through Playhouse Lane into Eliza Street, the condition of the footpath is such that it is only about a foot wide, and my concern is only that there would be very little space for someone to move through the reservation that's provided for pedestrians, and I would hope that there is some affordance made for people to have more easy egress. I'm just raising that as a general concern, but I am otherwise supporting the motion.
Through the presiding member, thank you, Councillor, for bringing that to our attention. We'll address that in our ongoing engagement with the event organiser.
I'd just like to raise a point of order in relation to an inaccuracy by Councillor Elliott. He stated that the footpath was about a foot wide, and in fact I think it's larger than that, and I'd ask him to withdraw the statement and be more accurate when he's speaking to the chamber.
I'll reject that because it's a harmless assessment of a measurement that's not going to impact on any of us this evening. As a piece of light-hearted trivia, I sit in this seat and every week look at the portrait of Lazar on the back of the chamber on the right. He was an early mayor of Adelaide who was an actor who used to perform in the Queen's Theatre. Anyway, let's have that put to the vote. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried. Thank you, members. We'll move on now to item 14, which is my report. As you all know, the Lunar New Year is in full swing, the Wood Snake Year. Like many of you, I attended the Guja Street party, which was fabulous, populous and joyful. It was a demonstration of the support that the community has for the Lunar New Year. The Chinese community put on an extraordinary evening day of activity. And I should commend Councillor Lee for his activity. He was also working on one of the stalls, and it was noticed by many people. The snake is the symbol of regeneration, resilience and transformation. And there's something rather romantic about the notion that something sheds its skin and comes back bigger and better. And that's what we would all want for our city. We would want improvements and growth in the future. I also met many people in Hurtle Square when Lucy Hood and Steve Georgianis held a street corner meeting. I joined them and the debate was mainly about Hutt Street upgrades. There were passionate views on both sides of the bicycle debate, and near Hutt Street, the southeast corner, I also attended a tour of the cultural burn sites to see the amount of regeneration and the changes that occur getting rid of all the invasive species, and it was really quite extraordinary to see the work that had been done by the First Nations group Ghana Fire Sticks. Many of you attended a civic reception for the 10th anniversary of UNESCO Creative City of Music, and it was an exciting day when we had an opportunity to meet some of our brilliant musicians and practitioners who were, I think, pushing along with our mission to be audacious, visionary and bold. And while I'm talking about audacity, vision and boldness, I should say I also attended a farewell for AIDA's inaugural chair, Nikki Govan, and we fared her well and all know that she had done an amazing job in steering AIDA during COVID and its difficult start-up period. The good news is we know where she is. She knows an awful lot about the city and she will continue to help us bring vibrancy to the city, and in her future roles we know that she will always be an ally of our city. Could I ask someone to move? No, thank you. Moved by Councillor Snape, seconded by Councillor Abraham Zadeh. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried. Thank you for noting. And now we move on to members' reports. Councillors? No reports? We will move on then. The first item is Councillor Noon's motion regarding traffic. As printed, do I have a seconder? No seconder? Councillor Martin, for the purposes of debate. Sorry, Councillor Noon.
Okay, I'm putting forward this motion because it is crucial that we as a council provide the community with an opportunity to be heard regarding the traffic management issues associated with the North-South Bikeway. While I acknowledge that consultation has occurred throughout the development of this project, the most extensive engagement referenced in the council reports dates back to 2017, more than 7 years ago. Much has changed since then, and so have the needs and concerns of residents, businesses and commuters who use this corridor every day. The report also highlights engagement with institutions such as Botanic High School and universities between 21 and 22, as well as collaboration with Department of Infrastructure and Transport. However, there are key stakeholders who have not been adequately consulted, most notably the presiding officers and committees of residential apartment buildings in the area. These are daily users of what is now a high-risk traffic zone, and the perspective should be given serious consideration. For example, in just 3 apartment buildings alone, over 300 residents rely on safe access to and from Frome Road and North Terrace, yet they have not been consulted in a meaningful way about the risks they now face. Their concerns, along with those of local businesses, must be addressed. This issue is further compounded by the Keystone Tower development.
So, could I just raise a point of order? I think we've tried to defend the administration about the adequacy of their consultation. I think that we should note that maybe some people felt not consulted, but it would be irrational for us to criticise this area, having spoken previously about another. I just ask you to be cautious.
Notably, this tower is designed with no on-site parking facilities. While this decision was made due to access constraints, it raises significant concerns about how traffic, both from hotel guests and service vehicles, will be managed in an already congested area. Beyond this, we must also consider the immediate safety issues on Frome Road itself. The downhill slope on the west side increases cyclist speed, while the volumes of vehicles turning left off northbound Frome increases the danger. One of the Adelaideans committee members experienced this firsthand on Friday night when she nearly hit a cyclist while turning left from Frome Road onto North Terrace. The cyclist was travelling at such high speed down Frome that she had no time to see them until the last second. It was a near miss, and it highlights just how dangerous this area has become. One example I have received of many. There was even a suggestion that maybe incorporating strategically placed bike ramps, humps, may be a solution. Another issue that needs addressing is that many pedestrians are walking on the bike lane in the opposite direction as if it were a footpath. This further increases the risk of collisions and confusion for all road users. Additionally, local business share these safety concerns. The General Manager of the Crown Plaza, I won't be long, has raised serious The General Manager of the Crown Plaza has raised serious concerns about trucks and service vehicles turning into Tavistock Lane from Frome Road. This lack of signage and the chosen design means that there is a real risk of a cyclist being hit. This is not just a hypothetical scenario, it is a genuine risk that has been identified by many who operate in the area daily. This is why I'm calling for a community meeting that brings together local residents, businesses, council representatives and the Department of Infrastructure and Transport to directly engage with the people impacted. We must work in a collaborative manner to identify solutions. I urge my fellow council members to support this motion, not only to ensure that all voices are given the opportunity to be heard and to take proactive steps in mitigation and addressing what is an increasingly pressing issue for our city. Thank you.
So your seconder? No? He reserved. So let me just, I think Councillor Kouros was first off the mark.
I've got a question.
Okay, have a question, then it's Councillor Snape, Councillor Giles, sorry, Councillor Ho.
So just something to unpack here. This bikeway went through a master plan, went through a process. We did traffic management report. We did consultation several times. We've gone through a whole process. Is that correct, Lord Mayor? Through you, Lord Mayor, to administration.
I don't have line of sight to its whole history. I think it's been going on for a
I know the history on this one.
time.
There was a very long consultation. There was detailed traffic management. There was the community was consulted. We've had a whole, and what was the word that was used tonight? Process.
I hate to interrupt you, Councillor. You know it all. So why are you asking a question?
Well, I'm just thinking, did I miss something, Lord Mayor, that we
No, I think you're very accurate. You're doing a good job.
We have missed something if this motion is brought forward because there's community outcry. So if there's community outcry, does that mean that we haven't done our job correctly?
No, I've asked the councillor not to criticise the administration because they're doing their job.
Exactly.
And I understand that the councillor believes that there are people who are still concerned. So,
well, the Lord Mayor, this is my concern, is that if we're going through spending money on processes and we're spending money on master plans and we're spending money on
is this still a question?
management. No,
You're
worried,
speaking now.
Lord Mayor. I am speaking now. I am worried, Lord Mayor, that if we're going through this process that we're all saying that we have to go through, and in the end result, you're saying that it's not good enough, and that's what we have to do again.
I'm not saying it's not good enough.
Well, Councillor Noon is saying that it's not good enough. Then I'm very confused about the whole process.
Thank you. Well, we'll just accept you're confused.
In saying that, Lord Mayor, I think administration had worked very hard through this process. I think they consulted very well throughout. There were many motions requesting administration to go through a big consultation process. There was a lot of traffic management done on this. And I did hear the administration say on radio that we're looking further in regards to the traffic controls on that. So they are constantly looking at that. But yeah.
So just to clarify, Councillor, you're right. It was 2017 that it started, and 2,400 people had the information and 1,700 gave feedback. So your assessment's right.
May I raise a point of order, Lord Mayor?
Point of order, yes, of course, Councillor.
I'd like to refer to Section 62 of the Local Government Act,
yes,
subsection 1.
Which one are you referring to?
If I could read it to the chamber, would that
Could you just give me the number again?
Section 62, subsection 1.
Yep.
It states that a member of council must at all times act honestly in the performance and discharge of official functions and duties. I have terrible concerns regarding the debate so far on this motion compared to the nature of the debate on the last motion, and whether it can truly be said that members,
I think you can have grave concerns. I don't have any grave concerns about the members, but I think that if you wish to make a complaint, you can. But I'm not going to accept a point of order on that matter now.
Okay.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. And first of all, I just want to commend the council's advocacy. Like myself, Councillor Noon is someone who answers every phone call, answers every email and talks to the community. My issue with this motion, however, I actually want to address the first sentence, which I do support, which is the organising of a community meeting. But I will note that that can be done without a motion, and many of us, I believe the councillor herself, has done it in the past, and I know Tom McCready and his team and our other executives and their staff are more than happy to help coordinate meeting, have staff come along and help have a conversation and debate and work through kind of the ins and outs of policy and projects going forward. So I do support that first part. Where I have issue, though, and I do encourage the council users, our staff, to go ahead and do that. Where I do, however, have issue is the second part of the motion, which talks about wider traffic management of the location. And I have issue with that at the current time, while the project is currently ongoing, nearing completion, I might add. What I would, and the reason I won't support this motion tonight is I believe that we need to finish this project, let the works halt, or complete, I should say, and then, if there's issues, then we can come in and address. But to address them before the completion, addressing issues that are still, under, while the shovels are still on the ground, I think is premature, and that's my main concern, not the actual concerns themselves, which I do acknowledge, and I thank the council for bringing them to our attention. Yes, that's basically that's my 2 points. Is please I do encourage a meeting to happen. We don't need the motion for that, and let's see the work completed before we start looking at traffic management for the location.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Giles, Councillor Ho, Councillor Davis. So, Councillor Giles first.
I only had a question, Lord Mayor. My question was, at what stage is the project, and when will it be completed?
Can I ask through the CEO, please?
Through the presiding member, Mr McCready.
Through you, Lord Mayor, we're a number of weeks away from finalising the project, and we will be doing an assessment with DIT in regards to the success of the project, and also monitoring the induction loops that we put into the ground and the traffic phasing, so that actually talks to the broader network, so a number of weeks.
Just a follow-up question.
Yes.
So it will be ready for Adelaide?
Through you, presiding member, yes.
Thank you. So we'll move on to Councillor Ho.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I too received about 3 phone calls over the weekend from stakeholders as well as presiding officers around the area to talk about this motion. Put it this way, I'm looking at the administration's comment. We are full on it. All right, everything has been looked after. The only concern is, I think back to 2017, when the public consultation was done at the time, some of the buildings have not yet gone up. And when the building is built, certainly you might come up with some kind of new concerns by the people in the area. I would rather see the mover. I understand that her intention, a very good intention, I would say. I'd rather see the mover to withdraw the motion, but rather seek an undertaking from administrations to follow up the concerns for the people around the area and provide a report back to council in a certain time. Because what I found that, the way how the motion was drafted, not just sorry to use this word, an insult to the current administration, but also not giving a good feedback to the previous 2 terms. It's a lot of hard work has been done over the last almost 10 years now, Lord Mayor. It's just not worth to have a motion like this. I would rather see an undertaking from the CEO that, these kind of concerns will be addressed and provide report back to council. Thank you.
Can I just say that was a masterclass in disagreeing with people and being constructive and courteous. Thank you, Councillor Ho. So we will go on to Councillor Davis, and then Councillor Martin was the seconder, so he will. Are you happy to reserve your right to after Councillor Davis?
Yeah, I actually support everything that Councillor Noon has said in terms of listening to our community on this occasion. So when a significant number of people contact us as councillors, it's our job to act as a circuit breaker and to listen to them. I quite like Councillor Ho's suggestion as well. But if there is a way that if there is problems with the consultation, if there are significant flaws in the consultation, if there is a circumstance when major stakeholders have not been heard, when major stakeholders have further issues to express to council, and they are expressing that to councillors, shouldn't we listen to them? Shouldn't we act honestly in the discharge and performance of our duties, act consistently in the way that we manage these types of issues? Now, I would have been very happy to read out Councillor Noon's speech that she gave to move this motion for my motion, and those concerns were exactly the same. And so for that reason, I'm happy to support this motion. But I do note Section 62, which requires us to act honestly on every issue and be consistent in the way that we treat our community. And perhaps if Councillor Noon had brought a petition of 814 signatures to this chamber, we would be more inclined to support this perhaps, but I think that the principles that she has outlined here in terms of consulting with our community when there are significant issues raised by them, we must go back and listen to them. And I thank very much Councillor Noon for her speech and her honesty in bringing these concerns to the chamber.
Councillor Martin? I think we're getting near the end of the line with this motion because
yes, I think we are, Lord Mayor. Look,
it's getting to the stage where we're not getting any original thoughts. We're just recycling things.
Look, my purpose in speaking is to acknowledge Councillor Noon's advocacy. I think it's a fine thing that she is representing her stakeholders. One of the particular problems in this instance, and like everybody else, I've had phone calls, is the project at the core of many of these complaints, that is the North-South Bikeway, was first approved by the Council in 2016, 9 years ago. I was there, I remember it very well. I remember the consultation. But sadly, everybody's moved on. The people who were there in businesses have gone on. There's a new apartment block at the top of the Crown Hotel, or is it the Crown or the, I can't think of the name of it, whatever it is. There will be Councillor Davis, as has been mentioned by Councillor Noon. He's got a development coming up next door as well. That's going to have an impact. All of these things have happened in a way that has been exacerbated by the 9 years intervening. I agree with Councillor Ho. I think the way forward is to trust the administration to conduct a consultation of its own making with all of the stakeholders and to provide whatever advice it can. I actually don't see the point in a public meeting, not least because of the particular difficulties in relating all of the information to the historical context. So I won't support this, but I do acknowledge Councillor Noon's advocacy, and I hope that the administration will take it further.
Councillor Noon, would you like to sum up?
I actually have been in contact with presiding officers and several residents and people from the East End about a range of different issues in this area. It is not about, they've got quite urgent, specific issues they need to address urgently. It's not like they can wait to a traffic management assessment or whatever. They want to be heard. The two presiding officers that I spoke to have been in that role for 3 years. They have not been contacted. I'm not saying that administration has done a bad job here of consultation. It seems like it was quite thorough, but it was when we were talking about the residents and the businesses, we're talking 7 years ago. A lot's happened since then. And at the end of the day, these people on the ground, these people are coming out of their driveways, these people are seeing cyclists, you know, go through the area and they have the right of way. They're nervous about this. They're nervous about what could happen. They just want to be heard. They want to actually be heard by administration. They want to actually develop relationships and they want to feed back. The CEO said that we're in the process of completing this project. At the end of the day, this is a great time to hear from these people. So it informs the completion of the project. It's very disappointing to hear some of these comments from my fellow councillors. I am very concerned about the safety issues in this area, and I think it needs urgent addressing, and a public forum is the way to go, in my opinion. But, you know, the majority will rule.
Thank you very much, Councillor. I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour of the motion as printed? All those against? That is lost. Thank you. A division's been called. All those in favour? Would you please?
Members, a division has been called in relation to the motion on notice before you. Please stand in favour of the motion until your name has been called. Councillor Noon and Councillor Davis.
I'm asked the question
administration would actually look at this matter, because like it's a serious matter afterwards.
Thank you. I understand that the administration are looking at it and they're refining some of the work, so I think it will happen. 16.2 has been withdrawn, and we'll now move on to 17, which is the questions without. Sorry. There were the question on notice we should note. I apologise, I whipped past there so fast. And it's on your desk, distributed. And we'll move on to the next item, which is the questions without notice. Councillor Giles. Yes, it's on the screen, Councillor.
To the Kirby soft plastic recycling pilot, and I have a number of questions because the pilot was picked up very quickly by the required number of people in the city, and then it just sort of went silent. I've been asking for some time about what happened to it, and now we've had the good news that it's sort of commencing again. So the question is, on behalf of those involved in doing the work, is what's the data feedback from the pilot? Is it still a pilot, or is it a trial, or is it being rolled out? How have the learnings from the pilot informed the next step? How and who in the community are being communicated with about this process, and how do people access additional bags to continue to put their soft plastics in their yellow bins? And also considering the big time gap between the communication about the pilot and now the new communication about a new proposal, what's the communication plan for residents to ensure they know that Kirby has started again? Because my understanding is that the only people being communicated with were the people who were part of the pilot.
So, as I understand it, it was extremely successful. People were prepared to use a separate bag system for soft plastics, like the plastic that covers dry cleaning. They liked doing it. The quality of the bags was good. It held up in the bin and didn't fall apart, and it was a successful trial. We're now in conjunction with other council areas, and it's a part of a national survey. Charles Sturt and Port Adelaide Enfield are setting up a target of 1,500 residents, and you have to log on to the website, register again, and you'll be given the bags.
Can we just have this circulated as a written format so that we can
no, this is a question. A question without notice.
Without notice, and we don't write in response to those. So the matter is now being processed again, and I'm not sure of the communication strategy. I'm also not sure that it's fair to ask Ms Padolia how the communication strategy is.
Through the presiding member, you've sought to answer a question on notice.
Without notice.
A question without notice. If the council is satisfied with the answer, that's where the matter lies. Otherwise, we can undertake to provide some further advice regarding any outstanding issues.
So I can tell you the website is Soft Plastics Recycling Pilot on the City of Adelaide site, but I'm not sure how it's going to be advertised. And we'll get back to you on that one. Thank you. Councillor Martin.
Yes, look, Lord Mayor, and I apologise for not having been able to circulate it, but I was surprised that the Adelaide Now website carried criticism of the City of Adelaide today by our 88 O'Connell Street development partner, Jamie McClurg, who called for the abolition of the council on the basis that we put the interests of a small, and these I think are his words, a small and relatively privileged fraction of the state's population.
Point of order, Lord Mayor. I'm just wondering, is this a question?
Yes.
It is a question, but he hasn't got there yet. He's just
doesn't he
warming
go
up.
direct to the question, or
It is a question on without notice, and he's just warming up.
Right.
I lost my place there. Lord Mayor, I noted with some surprise in Adelaide today, the website, that it carried criticism of the City of Adelaide today by our development partner at 88 O'Connell Street, Jamie McClurg. Mr McClurg called for the abolition of the council because, and I think these were his words, we put the interests of a small and relatively privileged fraction of the state's population ahead of the broader community. Could the administration advise whether it or the Lord Mayor will speak with Mr McClurg to understand what it is he's talking about?
I don't know that the administration can speak for me. I haven't met Mr McClurg for some time, but I think that the arguments he put forward would not be supported by our ratepayers. And the
Lord Mayor, point of order. We can't speak for a man that's not here to speak against what
I'm not speaking for another man, I'm speaking for myself. I was asked what I would say.
But you cannot assume that that's what the ratepayers think overall. And Lord Mayor, I think this is completely
one
inappropriate.
Person at a time. Politeness, please.
Point of order, Lord Mayor. I think this question
If it's a point of order, please stand up and tell us what your point of order is.
My point of order, Lord Mayor, is that I think this line of questioning is inappropriate to bring into council and ask administration or you of a question of a person that is free will to speak his mind at another event not held by the City of Adelaide.
I'm not speaking for anyone else. I was asked what I thought, and I'm just giving you my answer.
With respect, Lord Mayor, and I understand Councillor Kouros's defence of Mr McClurg, but I was asking, will you speak with Mr McClurg to understand what he is talking about, or the administration?
I hadn't thought of doing that, but I'm very happy to think about it.
Thank you.
May I also suggest or ask, if you do speak with Mr McClurg, perhaps you could reference tonight's discussion relating to the council rejecting 114 signatures from across South Australia.
That's irrelevant and has no bearing on the matter.
Well, it's just an example of perhaps what Mr McClurg is talking about.
I think that that's not relevant. Are there any other questions?
I mean,
you don't have the call. Can you sit down, please?
Oh, no, I had a question.
If you have a question, please put it forward.
Do we have any further context in terms of why these business owners are calling for the abolition of Adelaide City Council? And have we received any formal correspondence from the state government to disband the City of Adelaide?
I think that it's not a useful discussion about where the idea was arisen, how it arose. Any other questions?
No, the question was like, have we received any correspondence from the state government regarding removing Adelaide City Council as with similar types of concerns that have been raised by Mr McClurg?
My experience of sacking councils is that the state governments very rarely write a courteous letter to the Lord Mayor. They act expediently, dramatically, and with incisive accuracy. So I don't think we'll be waiting for a letter.
So, I mean, given his comments and your comments, is it likely that we would be sacked in the coming weeks?
I think that we have no advantage in trying to get into the mind of Mr McClurg. I think you should sit down. Any other questions on notice? We'll move on. Questions without notice? Can we move on? The end of the meeting. Time to go home. Thank you very much indeed. I'll close the meeting.